Hey, what's good, everybody? Doing something different a little bit. Just leaving the store right now. Um, Started listening to some audibles. My nutritionist had referred a book to me, and I can't sit down and read, but sometimes it's real tough for me. Um, but Audible has been a heaven sent. I've been listening to it for a couple weeks now, and I realized a friend of mine told me that I have Obama's book, I have Michelle Obama's book, but I don't. I've read them, but he said that Barack Obama does his. He narrates his own book as well as Michelle does as well on Audible. And I was like, oh wow! So I did pick up Barack Obama's book and been listening to it, and it's amazing. I can read it, but then listening to his voice really, for some reason, it's just truly inspirational when you listen to it. Just kind of hear how he talks through, being a senator, being a president's life in general. So thought I'd share a little bit. I'm on chapter 9 right now. It's a 29-hour book. I'm about 6 or 7 hours in. I've been listening to it, so just wanted to share it, while I'm on the way home. So I'm on chapter 9 right now. He's talking about his battle with John McCain and Sarah Palin. So kind of pick it up there to give you some insight, but let's give it a go.
Swear. She'd spent the first week of October drawing big crowds and enthusiastically gassing them up with nativist bile. From the stage, she accused me of, quote, palling around with terrorists who would target their own country. She suggested that I was, quote, not a man who sees America the way you and I see America. People turned up to rallies wearing t-shirts bearing slogans like Palin's Pit Bulls and No Communists. The media reported shouts of terrorists and kill him and off with his head coming from her audiences. Through Palin, it seemed as if the dark spirits that had long been lurking at the edges of the modern Republican Party, xenophobia, anti-intellectualism, paranoid conspiracy theories, and antipathy to black and brown folks, were finding their way to center stage. It was a testament to John McCain's character, his fundamental decency, that any time a supporter approached him, spewing Palin-style rhetoric, he politely pushed back. When a man at a Minnesota rally announced into the microphone that he was afraid of having me as a president, McCain wouldn't have it. I have to tell you, he is a decent person and a person that you do not have to be scared of as president of the United States, he said, causing his audience to boo lustily. Answering another question, he said, we want to fight, and I will fight, but we will be respectful. I admire Senator Obama and his accomplishments. I will respect him. I want everyone to be respectful, and let's make sure we are, because that's the way politics should be conducted in America. I wonder sometimes whether, with the benefit of hindsight, McCain would have still chosen Palin, knowing how her spectacular rise and her validation as a candidate would provide a template for future politicians, shifting his party's center and the country's politics overall in a direction he abhorred. I never posed the question to him directly, of course. Over the next decade, our relationship would evolve into one of grudging but genuine respect. But the 2008 election understandably remained a sore point. I like to think that, given the chance to do it over again, he might have chosen differently. I believe he really did put his country first. The chant that had started with Edith Childs in her big hat in a small room in Greenwood, South Carolina more than a year earlier, now rose spontaneously, rippling through crowds of 40 or 50,000 as people filled up football fields and city parks, undaunted by the unseasonably hot October weather. Fired up, ready to go. Fired up, ready to go. We had built something together. You could feel the energy, like a physical force. With just a few weeks to go before the election, our field offices were scrambling to find enough space to accommodate the numbers of people signing on to volunteer. Shepard Fairey's graphic art poster, titled Hope, with a stylized red, white, and blue version of my face staring off into the distance, seemed suddenly ubiquitous. It felt as though the campaign had moved beyond politics and into the realm of popular culture. You're the new in thing, Valerie would tease. That worried me. The inspiration our campaign was providing, the sight of so many young people newly invested in their ability to make change, the bringing together of Americans across racial and socioeconomic lines. It was the realization of everything I'd once dreamed might be possible in politics, and it made me proud. But the continuing elevation of me as a symbol ran contrary to my organizer's instincts, that sense that change involves we and not me. It was personally disorienting too, requiring me to constantly take stock to make sure I wasn't buying into the hype, and remind myself of the distance between the airbrushed image and the flawed, often uncertain person I was. I was also contending with the likelihood that if I was elected president, it would be impossible to meet the outsized expectations now attached to me. Since winning the Democratic nomination, I'd begun to experience reading the newspapers differently, in a way that gave me a jolt. Every headline, every story, every expose was another problem for me to solve. The problems were piling up quickly. Despite TARP's passage, the financial system remained paralyzed. The housing market was in a nosedive. The economy was shedding jobs at an accelerating rate, and there was speculation that the big three automakers would soon be in jeopardy. The responsibility of tackling these problems didn't scare me. In fact, I relished the chance. But from everything I was learning, things were likely to get significantly worse before they got better. Resolving the economic crisis, not to mention winding down 2 wars, delivering on healthcare, and trying to save the planet from catastrophic climate change, was going to be a long, hard slog. It would require a cooperative Congress, willing allies, and an informed, mobilized citizenry that could sustain pressure on the system, not a solitary savior. So what would happen when change didn't come fast enough? How would these cheering crowds respond to the inevitable setbacks and compromises? It became a running joke between me and the team. Are we sure we want to win this thing? It's not too late to throw it. Marty expressed a more ethnic version of the same sentiment. 232 years, and they wait until the country's falling apart before they turn it over to the brother. More than anything campaign related, it was news out of Hawaii that tempered my mood in October's waning days. Maya called, saying the doctors didn't think Toot would last much longer, perhaps no more than a week. She was now confined to a rented hospital bed in the living room of her apartment, under the care of a hospice nurse and on palliative drugs. Although she had startled my sister with a sudden burst of lucidity the previous evening, asking for the latest campaign news along with a glass of wine and a cigarette, she was now slipping in and out of consciousness. And so, 12 days before the election, I made a 36-hour trip to Honolulu to say goodbye. Maya was waiting for me when I arrived at Toot's apartment. I saw that she'd been sitting on the couch with a couple of shoeboxes of old photographs and letters. I thought you might want to take some back with you, she said. I picked up a few photos from the coffee table. My grandparents and my 8-year-old mother laughing in a grassy field at Yosemite. Me at the age of 4 or 5, riding on Gramps' shoulders as waves splashed around us. The 4 of us with Maya, still a toddler, smiling in front of a Christmas tree. Taking the chair beside the bed, I held my grandmother's hand in mine. Her body had wasted away, and her breathing was labored. Every so often, she'd be shaken by a violent, metallic cough that sounded like a grinding of gears. A few times, she murmured softly, although the words, if any, escaped me. What dreams might she be having? I wondered if she'd been able to look back and take stock, or whether she'd consider that too much of an indulgence. I wanted to think that she did look back, that she'd reveled in the memory of a long-ago lover, or a perfect sunlit day in her youth, when she'd experienced a bit of good fortune, and the world had revealed itself to be big and full of promise. I thought back to a conversation I'd had with her when I was in high school, around the time that her chronic back problems began making it difficult for her to walk for long stretches. The thing about getting old, Bear, Toot had told me, is that you're the same person inside. I remember her eyes studying me through her thick bifocals, as if to make sure I was paying attention. You're trapped in this doggone contraption that starts falling apart. But it's still you. You understand? I did now. For the next hour or so, I sat talking to Maya about her work and her family, all the while stroking Toot's dry, bony hand. But eventually, the room felt too crowded with memories, colliding, merging, refracting, like images in a kaleidoscope, and I told Maya I wanted to take a quick walk outside. After consulting with Gibbs and my Secret Service detail, it was agreed that the press pool downstairs would not be informed, and I took the elevator to the basement level and went out through the garage, turning left down the narrow street that ran behind my grandparents' apartment building. The street had barely changed in 35 years. I passed the rear of a small Shinto temple and community center, then rows of wooden homes broken up by the occasional 3-story concrete apartment building. I had bounced my first basketball, a gift from my father when I was 10 years old, down this street, dribbling the length of the uneven sidewalk on my way to and from the courts at the nearby elementary school. 2 used to say that she always knew when I was coming home for dinner, because she could hear that darn ball bouncing from 10 stories up. I'd run down this street to the supermarket to buy her cigarettes, motivated by her promise that I could buy a candy bar with a change if I was back in 10 minutes. Later, when I was 15, I'd walk the same street home from a shift at my first job, scooping ice cream at the Baskin-Robbins around the corner, Toot laughing heartily when I grumbled to her about my paltry paycheck. Another time. Another life. Modest and without consequence to the rest of the world. But one that had
All right,
given
y'all.
me
I'm
life.
back in my neighborhood. Thank you for joining me. I'm going to do some longer sessions if y'all want. I really like... hold on for me real quick. I really like listening to the book, but let me know. Thank y'all for joining me. Really appreciate it. Much love, and I'll see y'all soon. All right, bye.